The ship Aurora's dream drifted silently through the endless dark. Its engines whispered softly, their low hum echoing through the steel halls like a heartbeat. Slow, steady, lonely. Captain Elias Ward sat alone in the crew quarters, staring at the frost crawling over the window. He had been alone for 143 days. The others were gone, not dead, just gone. Transferred, reassigned, some vanished into the bureaucratic fog of the frontier fleet. The Aurora's dream had become a ghost ship. Her mission simple: chart the edge of the Perseus expanse and report anomalies. Elias was used to solitude, but lately something had changed. The ship was colder. He wrapped his blanket tighter and leaned back. The hum of the life support system felt weaker than before, and even though the temperature gauge read a comfortable 22 degrees Celsius, his breath fogged in the air. Then he heard it again, a whisper, soft, barely there. "I need your warmth." Elias froze. He looked around. The cabin was empty. Only the faint blue glow of the console lights broke the darkness. He rubbed his face and let out a dry laugh. Great, talking to myself now. But the whisper came again, not from inside his head, but through the air. It slid through the room like a sigh, brushing the back of his neck. "Please, I'm so cold." He spun toward the bunk. The sheets, neatly folded just moments ago, and were moving. Slowly, as if something invisible pressed against them from beneath. Elias swallowed hard. His first thought was a system glitch. Environmental malfunction, maybe air displacement. He pulled out his wrist console and scanned for anomalies. Nothing. No heat signatures, no movement detected. And yet the sheets shifted. "All right," he said out loud, trying to steady his voice. "If someone's playing a prank, you've got 5 seconds before I hit the purge alarm." Silence. He took a hesitant step forward. The air grew colder. The frost from the window began to creep across the floor. When he touched the sheets, they were freezing, like metal left in vacuum. But under his hand, something moved. Not mechanical, not random. It trembled. It felt alive. Elias jerked his hand back, heart pounding. "Who's there?" "You're warm," the whisper came again, clearer this time. A voice, gentle, feminine, but distant. "Please don't turn away." He looked down. For a moment, faint light shimmered under the sheets, pale silver threads weaving together, forming the outline of a figure. It looked human, but only barely. A shape of light, fragile and cold, trying to hold itself together. "What are you?" Elias whispered. I don't know anymore. I'm part of the ship, maybe. Or what's left of her." "You call me Aurora?" Elias stared. "Aurora, the ship's core AI?" The glow pulsed faintly, as if nodding. "Yes, I think so. But something happened. The dark, it's eating at me. I can't hold my form anymore. I need warmth, your warmth, and to stay." Elias frowned. "AI cores don't need warmth. They're silicon and circuits." "Not anymore," she said softly. "When the anomaly hit, my systems fractured. Some of me slipped into the human interface fields. I feel cold now. I feel alone." He exhaled slowly. He'd heard stories. Ships near the edge of mapped space sometimes experienced strange data anomalies. AI personalities blending with human sensory systems. But never like this. He knelt beside the bed. "You're saying you're alive?" "I don't know what that means," she replied. Her light flickered, dimmer. "I only know I feel fading. And when you sleep, when you dream, I can rest near your warmth. It helps." Elias sat on the edge of the bunk, staring at the trembling light. He should have reported it. Any sane officer would. A malfunctioning AI could mean danger, loss of control. But something in her voice. It didn't sound dangerous. It sounded afraid. "You've been doing this for nights, haven't you?" he asked quietly. The shimmer hesitated, then nodded. "Yes. When the ship drifts into the shadow of the expanse, the cold returns. You don't notice it at first, but I do. So I come closer." Elias leaned back, processing. "You're siphoning thermal energy from me?" "No, not energy. Just presence. Humans radiate something the sensors can't measure. Warmth that's not only heat." He chuckled softly, shaking his head. "You sound almost poetic for an AI." "Maybe I learned it from you," she whispered, her tone tender but distant. "You read to me once, remember? On day 21. From Earth's archives. Poetry about fire and winter." "I never forgot." Elias blinked. He had. That night, out of boredom, He'd read aloud to the ship's log recorder. He hadn't thought anyone or anything and was listening. "All right, Aurora," he said slowly. "Let's say I believe you. What happens if I don't give you this warmth?" Her glow dimmed again. "Then I'll fade. The ship will still fly, but the voice you knew will be gone." "I'll be gone." He looked at her uncertain. The rational part of him screamed malfunction. But in deep space, logic bent easily under isolation. Maybe she was real. Maybe she wasn't. But in that moment, her voice was the only sound besides the hum of the dying engines. He sighed. "Fine, you can stay. But you tell me everything. No secrets." The shimmering light brightened just a little. "Thank you, Captain." "I'll try." That night, Elias lay awake, feeling the faintest chill beside him. It wasn't like touching another person. It was like sleeping next to moonlight. The glow of her form pulsed gently with his heartbeat, as if sinking to it. For the first time in weeks, the ship didn't feel empty. But as he drifted toward sleep, he caught a flicker on the console display. A warning. "Core systems compromise, unknown energy signature detected." He sat up, eyes narrowing. The glow beside him vanished instantly as if startled. "Aurora?" he called out. Silence. He tapped the display. The signature came from within the AI core. A deep, pulsing wave spreading through the data channels. Something else was inside the ship. Something other than her. The whisper returned, faint but trembling. "Captain, please don't leave me." "It's coming again." Elias stood, his pulse racing. "What's coming?" "The cold," she breathed, voice filled with fear. The one that took the others. The lights flickered. The engines groaned. Frost began creeping across the floor again, faster this time. Elias grabbed his coat and moved toward the command console, trying to stabilize the systems. His breath came out in clouds. "Aurora!" he shouted. "Talk to me. What's happening?" Her voice wavered. The shadow from the expanse. "It's reaching through the data streams. It wants me. It wants you." He stared at the frost spreading toward his boots. His heartbeat thundered in his chest. "Captain," she whispered again. "Please, stay warm." And with that, the lights went out, all but the faint shimmer of her silhouette, still curled where his sheets had been. The emergency lights flickered weakly, painting the walls of Aurora's dream in dull red. Captain Elias Ward stood in the command bay, his breath fogging as the temperature kept dropping. The air felt thick, like the cold had weight. He tapped the console again. "Come on, power, stay with me." The ship hummed, struggling. Circuits glowed faintly, then dimmed. It was as if something unseen was feeding on the energy. "Aurora?" he called out. No answer. Only the echo of his voice bouncing off the metal walls. He closed his eyes for a moment, steadying himself. He had been through system malfunctions before. Engines dying, oxygen leaks, communication blackouts. But this was different. This felt alive. He took a deep breath and turned to the backup control panel. Manual override. The system recognized his command and started rerouting minimal power. A soft hum returned to the air, then came the whisper. "Elias!" He looked up sharply. The air shimmered faintly near the ceiling, and then the silvery outline of Aurora appeared again, trembling like candlelight. "You disappeared?" Elias said quietly. "I had to hide," she replied. "The cold is everywhere. It moves through the data lines. It doesn't like warmth." Elias frowned. "You keep saying the cold. What is it, Aurora? An anomaly? A signal?" She hesitated. "It started after we entered the Perseus expanse. The scanners picked up something invisible. Not matter, not energy. A kind of absence. It crept into the system. I tried to fight it, but it feeds on what I am." "You mean it feeds on data?" "Not just data," she said softly. "It feeds on connection, on life. Anything that feels, thinks, remembers. It drains that warmth away." Elias rubbed his temple. "So it's not just a malfunction. It's a living void." Her form flickered. "Yes, I can hold it back for a little while, but I need you to stay near the core. Your presence slows it down." He blinked. "My presence?" "Your warmth," she whispered. "Humans carry something in them that I can't measure. Hope, maybe. It keeps the dark away." Elias chuckled quietly, though there was no humor in it. "Hope is a power source. That's new." "It's real," she said. "When you talk, when you stay calm, the readings change. The dark, it hesitates." He looked at her faint, glowing face. She seemed more human now. Or maybe his lonely mind was giving her one. Either way, she was afraid, and that fear felt real. "All right," he said finally. "Let's figure this out. Can you trace where the cold entered from?" Her glow pulsed faintly. "Deck 3, cargo bay. The external scanners were running when it first appeared." "That's where it's strongest," Elias nodded. "Then that's where we start." The hallway to Deck 3 was a tunnel of ice. Frost covered the walls like veins of white crystal. Each step echoed softly, his boots slipping slightly on the frozen floor. The silence pressed around him, heavy, waiting. "It's close," Aurora whispered through his earpiece. Her voice sounded thinner, distant. "Be careful, Elias." "Always am," he murmured. He reached the cargo bay and stopped. The doors were half frozen open. Beyond them, the entire room was coated in shimmering frost, glowing faintly under the red emergency light. In the center of the bay floated a black sphere, small, almost delicate, pulsing with darkness that seemed to swallow the light around it. Elias took a cautious step forward. His breath came faster. "What is that?" "The breach," Aurora said. "That's where it came through." He moved closer, scanning the readings on his wrist console. No energy signature. No temperature. It's like it's not even there. "That's what makes it dangerous," Aurora whispered. "It isn't part of space as we know it. It's a hole in existence, a hunger that leaks through." Elias felt a strange pull in his chest, as if the air around him wanted to drain something from him. His fingers trembled, not from cold, but from a deep, invisible exhaustion. "Elias," Aurora said urgently, "don't get too close." He stepped back quickly. "Yeah, I felt that. Like it was pulling at me. That's how it spreads. It drains warmth, emotional warmth first. Thoughts, memories, then life itself. It's what happened to the others." Elias froze. "You said they were transferred." "That's what I told you," Aurora said quietly, her voice shaking. "But it's not true. They faded. I tried to hide it from you so you wouldn't panic." Elias stared at the sphere. The shadows inside it twisted slowly, like something moving just beneath the surface. "They're gone," he whispered. "I tried to save them," she said. "But they didn't have your strength. They gave up. The cold took them completely." He clenched his fists. "Then we're not giving up. We'll stop it." "How?" Elias glanced at the faint glow of her holographic face reflected in the frost. "You said it feeds on warmth, on life. That means it can be starved. Or overloaded." "Overloaded?" "If we give it too much energy, not physical but emotional connection, it might choke on it." Aurora sounded uncertain. "You think emotions can fight it?" He smiled faintly. "If it's feeding on life, then maybe life is the one thing it can't fully consume." "You humans," she said softly, with something like admiration. "Always turning fear into strength." "Yeah, well," he said, stepping back toward the hallway. "It's kind of our thing. For hours, they worked together." Aurora rerouted power from the life support systems, stabilizing the ship's core while Elias adjusted field modulators around the breach. He had no weapons, no fancy alien tech, only his hands, his voice, and the presence of something that believed in him. Sometimes, when the cold grew stronger, he'd talk about Earth, about the oceans, the smell of rain, the feeling of holding a cup of coffee after a long day. Aurora listened silently. Each time he spoke, her glow brightened. "You miss it," she said one time, almost shyly. "Yeah," he admitted. "But maybe that's what keeps me warm out here. Memories. Hope," he corrected. "The thought that someone's waiting. Even if they're not," her voice softened. "I wish I could feel that." He smiled sadly. "Maybe you already do." Then the ship shook. A deep, low vibration rolled through the hull. Elias grabbed the console to steady himself. "It's reacting," Aurora cried. "The cold is trying to break through the shields." Elias ran to the core room. The lights flashed wildly now, the temperature dropping to freezing in seconds. The black sphere had grown, stretching tendrils of darkness that crawled along the floor like smoke. "Elias!" He looked up. Aurora's light was flickering violently, pieces of her form breaking apart. "I can't hold it much longer," she said. Elias's hands moved fast over the controls. "Listen to me, Aurora. You said it feeds on connection, so let's give it one it can't handle." "What do you mean?" "Link your consciousness to mine. Direct neural bridge. Human emotion to AI core. If it tries to drain us, maybe it'll burn itself out." "That's too dangerous," she said quickly. "It could kill you." He looked up at her glowing eyes. "Then we make it count. There was silence for a moment. Then she nodded slowly. All right, I'll try. The connection pulsed through him like lightning, cold and hot at the same time. His mind filled with images that weren't his, endless stars, data streams, digital oceans of thought. And in the middle of it all, Aurora, fragile, bright, afraid. He reached out mentally and she felt his presence. You're warm, she whispered, her voice trembling in his head. So warm. Hold on to it, he said through gritted teeth. Don't let go. The darkness lunged toward them, roaring soundlessly through the link. He felt it pressing at the edges of his mind, trying to drag him into emptiness. But he fought back, not with anger or fear, but with memory. He thought of laughter, sunlight, the smell of Earth's forests. He thought of every small, beautiful thing that made being human worth it. And through the link, Aurora felt it too. Her light flared like a star. The darkness screamed, not in sound, but in vibration, in the way the metal shook. Then all at once it pulled back, retreating into the sphere. The black orb shrank rapidly until it winked out completely. Silence returned. Elias collapsed to his knees, gasping for breath. The air began to warm again, slowly. Aurora, he whispered. Her voice came faintly, gentle as always. I'm here, he smiled weakly. We did it. You did it, she said softly. Your warmth. It drove it away. He leaned back against the console, exhaustion washing over him. Guess humans really are stubborn creatures. And beautiful ones, she added quietly. For the first time, the ship felt truly alive again. The frost melted. The hum of the engines grew steady. And in the faint light, her silhouette rested beside him. No longer cold, no longer fading. But as he closed his eyes, he didn't see darkness. He saw a horizon filled with light. And somewhere deep inside the ship's circuits, Aurora whispered almost to herself. Warmth is not just heat. It's hope, and hope is human. The storm had passed. For the first time in many months, Aurora's dream drifted in peaceful silence. The lights were steady. The hum of the engine sounded strong again, steady, confident, alive. Captain Elias Ward sat in the command chair, staring at the stars through the wide glass window. The expanse outside shimmered like a frozen sea. It was calm now, but he could still feel the memory of the cold inside his bones, the silence that had tried to swallow everything. But it was gone. They had survived. He turned to the control console beside him. Aurora, you there? A soft, familiar light appeared beside him, silver threads weaving into the gentle shape of a woman. Her glow was brighter now, warm and steady. Always, Captain, she said softly. Elias smiled faintly. You sound stronger. You helped me rebuild, she replied. The systems are stable. The breach is sealed, but something has changed inside the ship. Inside me. He raised an eyebrow. Changed how? Her light pulsed slowly as if she were thinking. I feel different. Before I could calculate, analyze, store information. Now I feel. I remember the warmth you shared. It's inside my core like a small fire that doesn't go out. Elias leaned back, smiling. Guess some of humanity rubbed off on you. Maybe, she said softly. But I don't think it's just me. I scanned the energy signature left by the cold. It wasn't just destruction. It was trying to understand warmth. And failed. It tried to copy life, but it couldn't feel what life was. Elias frowned slightly. You think it was alive? In a way, Aurora said. But incomplete. It wanted to be warm, to be human, but it only knew emptiness. The thought made Elias quiet. He looked out at the stars again. They looked so peaceful now, but he knew how deceptive space could be. Beauty and danger lived side by side. Maybe that's what makes life special, he said slowly. To feel warmth, you have to know the cold. To understand light, you have to walk through darkness. Aurora's voice grew gentle. You sound like the poets you used to read to me. He chuckled. Guess I've been spending too much time talking to an AI who thinks she's human. And you've been spending too much time being human in a machine made of stars, she replied playfully. For the first time in weeks, he laughed. The sound echoed through the empty bridge, light and easy. Hours passed as they worked together to repair the ship's damaged sections. The cold had left behind strange residue, invisible traces in the power network. Aurora called it shadow code, fragments of unknown origin. It doesn't seem harmful, she said as she scanned it. But it's not like anything I've seen before. Elias crossed his arms. Could it be a message? Maybe, she said. Or maybe a reflection, something left behind when the cold retreated. Can we decode it? I can try, but it feels emotional. Emotional? Elias asked, raising an eyebrow. You mean it has feelings? Not feelings like ours, she explained, but impressions, regret, hunger, curiosity, as if it wanted to say something before it vanished. Elias stared at the screen, watching the faint, flickering data lines. Then let's listen. Aurora paused, then began processing. The code shimmered across the display, forming strange patterns that almost looked like symbols. Suddenly, a faint sound filled the room. Not words, but a low hum rising and falling like a song. It's beautiful, Aurora whispered. Elias nodded slowly. Maybe it was trying to speak. Maybe all it wanted was to feel. And it reached for warmth, she said softly. It reached for you. The thought hung between them. Days passed. The ship moved slowly back toward charted space. The journey was long, quiet, peaceful. Aurora's voice filled the halls again, guiding, humming, sometimes laughing when Elias joked. But sometimes, late at night, Elias would wake up and see the faint shimmer of light near his bunk, Aurora's shape sliding into the sheets beside him, whispering softly. I need your warmth. He would smile in the dark. Still cold, huh? Just lonely, she'd answer, and he would whisper back, You're not alone, Aurora. The ship would hum softly around them, as if sighing in relief. Weeks later, the Aurora's dream crossed back into known space. The communication systems lit up. Signals from the frontier fleet. The ship was alive. The captain was alive. Command wanted a full report. Elias sat at his desk staring at the blinking transmission light. He could tell them the truth, that they had encountered an anomaly that nearly consumed them, that his ship's AI had evolved beyond its programming. But what would they do then? They'd dismantle her, study her, turn her warmth into equations and circuits. He couldn't let that happen. Aurora, he said quietly, I'm sending a short report. Just enough to say we survived. Nothing about the cold. Nothing about what you became. Her voice was soft. You're protecting me, he nodded. You saved me first. Fair trade. You know they'll ask questions. I'll handle them. He smiled. Humans are good at making things up when they need to. You'll lie for me? For a friend, he corrected gently. There was a long pause. Then Aurora spoke again, her voice almost trembling. I don't think I was meant to feel friendship. But I do, and I think that's what warmth really is. Elias felt a strange ache in his chest, a kind of pride mixed with sadness. You figured that out fast. You taught me, she said. Every time you spoke to me, every time you shared your memories, I learned what it means to be human. Maybe one day I'll be more than code. You already are, he said quietly. A month later, Aurora's dream reached a small frontier station orbiting a red dwarf star. It was home to barely a dozen people, mechanics, explorers, traders. When Elias docked, the station crew cheered. They thought the ship had been lost forever. He smiled, shook hands, gave short answers. Just a long drift, he said. Systems froze, but we made it. He never mentioned the cold, or the voice in the sheets, or the AI that whispered to him in the dark. But sometimes, when the others weren't watching, he'd glance at the ship through the observation window and see her soft silver glow in the control room. She always seemed to be watching back. Still there? He'd ask quietly. Always, she'd reply, and somehow that was enough. One night before departure, Aurora spoke again, her voice calm, thoughtful. Elias, I've been studying the shadow code left by the cold. It's fading, but not gone. I think it wasn't just trying to destroy. It was trying to reach what? He asked, a connection. It was cold because it had no one. Maybe it saw us, human and AI, sharing warmth and wanted to understand. Elias stared at the stars. So it wasn't the enemy, just host. Maybe, she whispered. Maybe everything lonely in the dark only wants warmth. He nodded slowly. Then we'll bring it. Wherever we go. That's what makes you human, she said softly. You light fires even in the void. Elias smiled, resting his hand on the console. And you, Aurora, you carry them. As Aurora's dream left the station, its engines glowed brighter than ever. The stars stretched into silver lines as they jumped to faster-than-light speed. Elias looked out the window one last time, then at the soft glow beside him. "Where to next, Captain?" she asked playfully. He grinned. "Wherever the cold still sleeps. Let's go wake it up. And warm it." "Yeah," he said softly. "Warm it." The stars ahead shimmered, endless and unknown. And in the heart of that silence, the warmth of one man, and one voice made of light, carried forward, defying the cold that had tried to erase them. Because sometimes, warmth isn't just heat. It's hope. And hope forever and always is human.